You would have thought that wedding is just something normal. To some people, it's not. Some people's wedding makes most people not sleep. The day you told your friends you were planning your wedding, you didn't know how many of them began to speak to the king concerning you. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out in the midst of the city and cried with a loud and a bitter cry. The guy did not just sit down and watch. For those of you who like to fold your arms, fold your legs, fold your life, and just stay in one corner and just watch things happen to you, Mordecai rent his clothes. Things have not happened to you yet. Maybe the thing that will make you rent your clothes is still on the way coming. If I were you, before it comes, wake up now. And came even before the king's gate. So this guy cried, went around the whole city, even came to the king's gate. And what did he do there? He said, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. So this man even came to the gate of the king to report to the king Ahasuerus. See what Haman, the one you lifted up, is doing against us. This is not supposed to be so. He got to the gate to voice his cry. The people at the gate said, no way. Have people done things against you and you tried to explain your version and it wasn't? People said things against you. People conspired. People dented your image and you know this is not you. You try to see how you can explain yourself. You looked at the way the situation is. You know there's no explanation that can solve this problem. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews. So all the Jews have heard it by this time, and everyone was crying, mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth. I show you three things. Number one, the conspiracy and the plot of evil against Mordecai. Number one. Number two, the action that Mordecai and the Jews engage to turn the conspiracy around. And I'm going to show you what that action is. And then number three, I will end by showing you the result of the action. How did it finally turn around? What did they do to secure that turnaround? You see what they did here? The Bible said that Mordecai rent his garments. He did not only hear the story that was told against him, he went into action. The Jews did not only hear the story of what Haman sought to do against them, they went into action. What is that action? They went into prayer. They went into fasting. They went into prayer. They went into fasting. The next year is coming with speed. Listen to me, child of God. There are plots against your next year. Oh yes, there are plots against your next year already, in case you don't know. A new year is not happy because you shouted Happy New Year. You also shouted Happy New Year in 2023 before 2024. You shouted Happy New Year. You blew knockout. You also came for crossover night. What changed? You must learn how to address the evil that men project against you, the evil that the devil project against you, the evil that altars are projecting against you. You must learn how to address it. It's not enough to just shout one Happy New Year. Or maybe you don't know. I told you one time in this place that every year has two major critical seasons, two major critical periods. Number one is the beginning of a year, and number two is the ending of the year. This is the ending of the year. We're already at the 11th hour to the ending of 2024. Some people are still playing and are still sleeping. I can predict their next year. The next year begins. Have you ever wondered why is that January starts so hard? People always complain that January is the hardest of months in a year. Why do we always complain that? Is it because God designed January to be hard? No, sir. It's because people do not actually prepare themselves spiritually. People do not equip themselves spiritually for the coming year. And even when the year starts, people are still playing around and complaining around instead of taking out time to pray, to fast, to engage spiritual dynamics to see a prosperous year. I told you, in case you didn't hear, 2 major times are the most critical in every new year. The first is in every year rather. The first is the beginning of the year, that January period and February period. These 2 months, don't play with it. And also that December period, you see, from November, December, don't play with those 2 months. Look at what is going on everywhere in Nigeria. You would think they are just coincidences only if you are blind. Since we entered December, back to back, all kinds of stories that will blow your mind. Evil stories. Yesterday, Ondo State, 13 people burnt to ashes. The news said that they were burnt beyond recognition inside a bus. People who were traveling, burnt beyond recognition inside a bus. Collided with another bus, and then fire sparked up and everybody was roasted. Just yesterday at 10 a.m. in the morning. The following day, another 13 set of people were massacred in a bus along Edo Benin Ore Expressway. Massacred in a bus. As though that one is not enough, another one we heard 2 days ago. Story of how students were coming back from somewhere and the bus got into a very severe accident. Everybody died. Plane crash. Even on 25th of December, plane crash occurred. 60 something people died. Did you hear about the stampedes happening everywhere? Even when we're talking about the one of the ex-wife of, is it the Ife of whatever they call him, where children and women and people died over scrambling for food, as though that was not enough. We heard another stampede somewhere in Okija, in Anambra, as though that wasn't enough. We heard another one happening in Abuja. While we're still trying to recover from those 3, the 4th one happened. And everywhere there was a stampede, people were dying. Record of people who died. And when you look at those things, you say that they are just coincidences. It's only you who is a natural carnal man who is thinking like that. Those are manifestations of evil. Seasons like this, the devil is in demand of blood. He's in demand of fresh blood. He's in demand of heads. And people who don't give themselves to prayer will fall a victim to the evil of this season. There have been sacrifices done on several roads this season to collect lives that you were not awake to see it. Didn't mean it didn't happen. There's some things you are not awake to see, but they happen. Some was it last year? We're having an international conference. One morning at 1 a.m. I came to church and saw where they put some charms in front of the billboard there. I did a record of it and put on Facebook. That is even called church. You think that they fear? That there are people who are not happy that there's a church like this here. That's why if you're not radical in prayer, you're finished. That's why if you say you're a member of this church and you don't understand your role in intercession, you are just a time waster here. You're just a life waster. Some people tell me early in the morning when they are going out of the house, they see different sacrifice dropped in different places in town, different streets. They see people drop calabash, they put food inside, they put Fanta here, they put this one there, they put in different. Have you not seen things like that in Abakaliki? Everywhere. So while you were sleeping, people were busy doing their sacrifice. People were calling people's names. People were busy calling people's names and saying these ones will not succeed. And all you do is just have fun. Next verse. So Esther's maid and her chamberlains came and told her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai. So this queen is a Jew. The Bible said that they came and told her what Mordecai had did, that Mordecai had torn his clothes and he has refused to be comforted because of the conspiracy of Haman against him and the Jews. And then Esther sent clothes to Mordecai. Do you know what Mordecai did? He rejected the clothes. This is not time to be clothed. This is time to pray. Queen, what are you talking about? It's not time for that. This is time for brutal intercession and prayer. This is not time for that joke. I didn't come here to show you how naked I am. I came to show you that look, there is something that requires urgent attention. It's not clothing I came for. Let me ask you a very frank question. When will your game end? When will your game end? When will you take up this issue of your life? This issue serious? When will you address this evil that has befallen you? When? I'm showing you how people who are eager to see evil reversed, how they behave. They did not sit back in pity. They did not sit back crying and saying to themselves, hey yeah, what do we do now? How do we go from here? No. They said, no way. Oh. Nobody will take that which is mine. No way. Oh. Nobody will touch our life. Oh. No way. The guy did not sit back and just look. The Bible says he rent his garment. He went around the whole city and cried aloud. And Esther was coming to give him clothes. Look at what he said. And she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. The next verse. Then called Esther for Hathach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. Look at the next verse. I'm going somewhere. So Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money, like that young boy who was talking to me. He said that his uncle did not only take the land by force, he took money to the king of the community and bought him over. And they both conspired that under any circumstance will that guy ever have access to that property again. You see, when we pray for prosperity, we are not just asking God to give us money to have enough to eat and drink. We are asking because in this kingdom, money is a defense. Things that even belong to you can be taken from you because you are poor. So, gentlemen and women, those of you who are very excited about your problem, please, you're not the one I'm addressing this morning. Those of you who are fed up, those of you who have seen contention, people laughing at you and saying, let's wait now, whatever it is he's doing or they are doing, when I'm ready, I will just use money and collect it from them. Those of you who are angry that people will not use money to take that which is yours, you are the one I came for. I didn't come for people who don't have a vision. I didn't come for people who are just looking at me. I have seen things happen to me previously. It won't happen again. No? I've seen things happen to me and I stood looking at it, and I knew that if there was resources, this thing wouldn't happen. You have not yet had a vision. You have not yet had a dream yet. You don't have a dream. You don't have a dream. When you have a dream and you see evil chasing it, you will wake up. Some people are not poor because Satan is after what they will eat and drink. No. Some people are poor and broke and suffering financially because the devil knows that is the only way he can stop them from fighting. So when the enemy launches an attack against you, and this attack is only money that can be used to fight against it, he will make sure that you are not in the position financially to arrest that situation. How be it that the entire Jews would have been destroyed if not that Mordecai and the Jews arose to pray? That's one key I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the second key, and then we're going to pray. The Bible said that Mordecai came to the gate and cried at the king's gate. And somebody came to Queen Esther and said, your uncle is at the gate crying. And he has torn his clothes. He said, why is he tearing his clothes? Take this one, go and give him. And the man refused. And this was his reply. Watch. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Look at the next verse. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go into the king to make supplication unto him and to make requests before him for her people. Two things I want to leave you here with. Number one, when your day of evil appear, let your news not be found wanting on the ground. And number two, may you not lack a man at the palace. Two things I want to show you guys. When your evil appear, may your news not be found wanting on the ground, and may you not be lacking a man in the palace. So there's something your prayer will do. If you understand what I'm teaching you, hear this. There's something your prayer will do. Number one, it's not only going to address the problem or the evil sent against you. Your prayer should also be targeted at addressing the man or the person who has the power and the position to stand in contention against that evil. Because whether you like it or yes, prayer will do things, but prayer will also have to find men that God will partner with to do things. So hear this, child of God, because I'm talking to somebody here. I'm about to pray for somebody right now. I'm about to pray for somebody, and maybe this clip is going to get to you right now as you're watching me. You are about to be repositioned from one office to a higher office. But one thing you need is that man who will say, take this man from this level and position him to another level. I'm praying for somebody watching me right now. May the man who will speak for you, who will reposition you from your current position in life, may he locate you right now. And Attach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Attach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whoever, whether man or woman, let me call the story short. Now this is Esther responding back to the request of Mordecai. Mordecai asked her, go into the king's court and speak to the king concerning this matter. And the response of Esther blew the minds of Mordecai. You know what Esther said? He said, you know that anyone who goes to see the king without invitation from the king will be put to death, except the king stretches forth his scepter and gives that person, and that will be a sign that that person is accepted into the king's court. But if the king does not do that, you'll be put to death for coming into the king's palace without invitation. And Mordecai responded back to Esther. I said, listen to me. We are talking about a plot against your people. We are talking about a plot that the king, that Haman has risen, has put together against the entire Jews. If you don't wake up and do something about this, listen, God will raise another man, because we are praying about this thing. Listen, when you think that you are indispensable, God has men. In case you don't know, you may not even have somebody in the palace. Listen to me. Use your news and summon the person. Use your news and summon the person to appear. You know what happened? Esther said, I can't go in there if not. And Mordecai said, listen, if you don't do it, God will get some other person to do it. But you and your family will be destroyed. Because you don't think you will escape this thing that is coming. No? You can't escape it. As long as you're a Jew, you'll be affected. You can't escape it. You and your household will be destroyed. But God will use another man to preserve the Jews. He said, don't you think that perhaps you were positioned in the palace for such a time as this? It could be because of this plot against us that God had positioned you in the palace to preserve lives. It was at that point Esther's mind began to listen. May the person that God will position for your lifting, may that person not escape you. See, there's a kind of prayer I pray now. When I was praying for one of my sons in a very highly exalted way, I was telling him something. I said to him, see, I don't pray for you necessarily because I want you to be promoted. It's I'm praying for you because I know what your promotion will do in the kingdom. If God positions you well in the kingdom or in government, or positions you well in your sector, there are things headache in the kingdom we will not cry about. Men like you will be there defending the interest of the kingdom. When Esther finally realized that the empowerment she had was for the sake of the people of the Jews, she now said to Mordecai, okay, go back, gather everyone, tell them to fast and pray for me 3 days. I will not just go to see the king, because if I go there and he kills me, it's trouble. He will still kill you guys. So go and tell them to pray for me 3 days, fasting and praying day and night. Nobody should eat or drink. He said, I and my maidens will also fast and pray. And after 3 days, I will go and see the king. 3 days after, she got up, went to the king's palace. When the king saw her, instead of putting her to death, the king stretched forth his hand, handed over the scepter to her, and she received it and walked in. First question the king asked is, my queen, what do you want me to do for you? Even to half of my kingdom, I will give it to you. And the queen said, wow. He said, sir, I have one request. I want to fix a banquet for you and Haman, and I want 2 of you to come in for the banquet. He said, fine. He called his servant and said, go and call Haman. Tell him that the queen needs his presence here. And then Haman hurriedly came. And the king now announced to Haman the plan of the queen to host a banquet for both of them. And it pleased Haman so much. And the foolish man walked out of the king's palace and went and told every one of his boys and every one of his people, including his wife and all that, that the queen is arranging a banquet for him and for the king, and that he feels so important that he can't wait for this banquet to come, that he feels so important, he's indispensable. And the queen, the wife of Haman, now asks, what about Mordecai, the one who refused to bow to you? What will you do with him finally? He said, that one, I have decided to hang him. I will kill him. Even before this banquet, I would have killed him. And I will destroy the whole Jews. Not even what Esther is trying to do will appease my heart. As long as I've made up my mind, not even the banquet will change my mind concerning that. Because the woman was thinking that, oh, for the sake of this banquet, maybe you will change your mind towards Mordecai and the Jews. He said, no way, I'm not changing. You know what Haman began to do? He began to build a hangar where this guy was going to be hung, right in his house. And we hang him there. And he built it very tall and lofty. Built it. And then the next day, before the banquet came finally, the king was in his chambers, flipping through books of Chronicles, just going through books. And he saw somewhere in that book where it was written that Mordecai played a vital role in the palace by stopping two of the king's bodyguard who had conspired to take life or the life of the king. When the king saw that document, he quickly called his servant and said, when did Mordecai do this and I did not know? When did Mordecai carry out an action like this to spare the life of the king and I did not know this? He said, and this thing is documented here and I'm just seeing it now. He says, send quickly for Mordecai. And then while he was sending for Mordecai, behold, Haman walked in. And he asked Haman, Haman, you know you're one of my trusted allies. What will be done for a man who had spared the life of a king, who had done this for the king and done that for the king? Haman shouted, such a man should be given the seat of the king. Such a man should be made a ruler in this place. Such a man should even be given the opportunity to ride in horses and chariots. He should be given royal status. The same man who plotted evil began to speak of the guy's promotion without knowing he was the one. He said, this man, whoever the man is, this is what should be done for him. He said, now hurry quickly, go into the city and do all these things you have said to Mordecai. Decorate him, give him the horse, do that, empower him, let him ride, and let everyone bow to him, just like you said. It was then he realized it was the same Mordecai he plotted against that the king was speaking about. Now this time he had no option. He had to carry out the king's decree. He went back and did as the king has said concerning Mordecai. When he had finished doing that, it was time for the banquet. He came there so angry and embittered, not knowing that the person he wanted to kill had now been elevated. Now it was time for the banquet. Esther had come in. The king was seated, and the king turned to Esther and said, dear Esther, what is it you said you wanted? And Esther began to speak of the evil that Haman plotted against the entire Jews. Kai, it was at that point the king realized that so this evil that this man was talking about was against these people. So this evil was to hurt these people for doing nothing against him, just because Mordecai refused to bow to him. This is what it is about. He says, all right. He said, now what do I do to Haman? He called his servants and said, what do we do? I need to hang this guy for doing what he had, for doing this kind of thing against these people. I need to deal with him so that my soul can be appeased. And then one of the bodyguards said to him, he said, Oga, live forever. Just yesterday, this man has finished making a very good hanger that they are going to use and hang Mordecai. He said the hanger is still there cooling off, waiting for after the banquet for him to go and hang him. He said there's no need making a new hanger since he already has one. Take him and hang him on the hanger. Can I prophesy to somebody? Anyone who has built a rope, built a hanger, build something that will take the life of whether you, your family members, your loved ones, anyone associated with you, in the name that is above every other name, I declare, may that person die by that hunger. May that person be consumed by that hunger. That which was programmed for your defeat, programmed to destroy you, programmed to kill you, programmed to eliminate you, by the fire of God, I declare now, may that thing turn around and go back to the one conspiring against you. If I hear your amen like thunder, let it be your portion right now.